Today we're going to be going over the assembly of the welded portion of our first gen 4Runner DIY bumper kit that we have available. We all have all the pieces laid out here. We have our two square tubes here. We have our bumper mounting plates. We have our receiver hitch, our front caps, and then we have our side plates, as well as the rectangular tube portion of the bumper. We've already gone through and cleaned up all of our edges. We've done some light cleaning on the rectangle tube here, and we're going to start laying everything out. So to start with, I'm going to flip this guy over and lay it face down. So the back side of the bumper is going to be the side that has the square holes on the back. And the square tube that goes in here is actually supposed to go inside and cap off the rest of the bumper. That way dirt and debris and stuff doesn't fall inside or start to fill up the bumper at all when you're using it. So we're going to take these guys, they should drop right in. It should be a nice outside corner joint there. That way it's easy to weld and keep everything capped off. I'm going to drop both those guys in. It should be a nice snug fit. Those will end up tacking. And then we're going to take our side caps. So some of these are going to be bent a little bit tighter, some are going to be a little bit looser, but they're super easy to adjust. They should only fit on one way, and really this front face that's here should be parallel with the front face of the bumper, which, because it's face down on the table, makes it easy to line up. So here I'm going to slide this on. I'm actually going to lift the bumper a little bit, slide that to the back, and pretty much push it all the way up against the rectangle tube. I don't have any gap here anymore, and then these front edges are nice and flat with the edge of the table. The outside portion over here, you are going to have a little bit of a gap, but that's because the plate is designed to be a nice outside corner joint with the front side of the bumper. That way you get a lot of penetration and keep this thing extra strong. So here with this kind of set up there, I'm going to bring the welder in here. I'm just going to do a couple little tacks in the back. Well, that one's in place. Take the other one, slide this over a little. This one's gonna slide on here. Now this one is actually slightly gapped. It's a little bit open, which is fine. It's only 1/8 inch material, so it'll move pretty easy. I'm gonna do the same thing where I'm gonna push it all the way up against the inside of the bumper skin. It should pretty much self-locate. The front face is flat with the edge of the table there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my couple little tacks on there. Uh-oh, the wire stuck to the tippy. Yep, we're still nice and flush with the edge. While I'm here, I'm going to tack these guys in place. Make sure I'm nice and even on there. Throw a couple of tacks in the corner. That's extra hot. Turn this down just a hair. We're all lined up. All right, now that that stuff is tacked, we can tip this bumper back. Everything sits nice and flat on the table, which is a great sign. We have our receiver hitch here. This is going to slide in from the front. It should be a nice snug fit. Just kind of lightly tapping it with the palm there. Slides right in. Now in the print you should have had, or in the box you should have had a little print. So we're going to slide the hitch in until we have 2 inches sticking out. Really should have had a tape measure. All right, now I got my tape measure. I'm going to measure here, and I'm going to have the receiver sticking out 2 inches. I'll throw my little tack on there. One on the other side, keep it from moving around. So with the side caps tacked on, our square tubes tacked into the inside of the bumper. We have a rectangle or our receiver hitch tacked in there. We have our frame mounting plates. So these are actually going to slide in from the back side of the bumper, and they just stop on their own. Self-locate. Let's slide both of those in. We can throw our little tacks on there. So this I'm just going to do a nice little guy at the top. And I'm putting a little bit of pressure on the back side just to make sure it's in all the way. Do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. Now we have these front caps here. So this should give you a nice little outside corner joint, just like we have here, to where when you weld that, you can weld all 3 of those joints together at the same time. And this is also going to build up as a nice outside corner joint with the side cap. So we're going to line up our 2 outside edges. It should be lined up nice and good on the bottom there at the same time. I'm just going to throw a nice little tack on that guy. Same thing on the bottom here. And one extra guy out here. Alrighty. The same is going to be for the other side. The other side, it was open just a little bit. So what we're going to do is just take a nice little C-clamp. You can go right on the back side of the bumper right here and just give it a little bit of a squeeze. It'll close up those gaps. But you really, for a weld out, you want to make sure everything is sitting nice and tight. No big gaps or anything like that. Then the last thing we have is our little baby gussets here. So the larger one, that's more like a regular triangle there. That's actually going to sit on top here. And it's going to fill in, I got it going the wrong way. So that's going to fill in this little gap we got going on right here. So we're just going to line that up. It sits on the bumper real nice. It's nice and tight, no gaps between that and the side cap. So we're going to tack that into place. One more little tack up top. So that is good. One more. There we go. And then we're actually going to do the same thing. The little one, that's, you get 2 big ones, 2 little ones. The little one is going to be doing the same thing. It's just on the bottom. So I guess we're going to take this and flip it over. Then this guy, the long leg of it's going to sit down right on the rectangle tube. Should be a nice outside corner joint there. Set that in place. Then we'll tack that guy down. Alrighty. I'll bring it in here real quick. Guess I didn't realize you guys are out of there. So we have the smaller gusset in there, nice outside corner joints. It meets pretty much the whole length of the bumper there. We got our frame mounting tabs in there. We got our square tube that caps off the inside of the bumper. We have our hitch tacked in. Same thing on this side. So we have our square tube, then our frame mounting plate, and then the little gussets on there. Now this is all tacked together. How we would normally weld it out is I would weld this seam here. I'm going to weld all the way across. I'm going to weld all the way around and down. And I'm going to weld the bottom section from the side plate to the gusset itself. I'm going to not weld where the gusset actually goes to the rectangle tube. And I'm not going to weld this surface here. I'll also weld just a couple little stitch welds on the inside. I really don't want to go too crazy on the inside because this is only 1/8 inch. You're actually going to see a bulge from the weld on the outside. It's also going to try and pull the bumper in a little bit. And this does sit really tight to the body. So if we distort this too much, you might end up having a little bit of a clearance issue. After I weld these edges here, I'm going to go through and I'm going to sand them down just so they're nice and rounded, just so it's a nice smooth transition there and you can't really tell that it was ever welded. I'm going to do the same thing with all these edges here. Once I have that all nice and clean, then I'm going to do a nice pretty weld all the way across the top, down, and underneath. That way this all looks like one piece and it does look like it's attached to the rectangle tube, because it is. Then we're going to weld out these tabs. We're just going to do a nice weld all the way around there on the back side, weld all the way around the hitch on both sides, same thing with the other side, and then we'll weld the whole outside corner joint we got going on back here to cap that off. That's the majority of the assembly of the bumper. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, great first project for welding if that's what you're trying to get into. And you end up with a pretty good result afterwards. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll show you when I get some of this welded out.
So here we have just the smooth welds, not where it attaches to the bumper. That way this will be real easy to blend.
Don't mind the handprints there. There's the bumper blended out, then fully welded. Haven't cleaned anything yet. All right, that is basically the conclusion for this bumper build out video. We got this thing all welded out and ready to go. The only thing left is the set of frame plates that you'll have with there. So this is gonna just mount up to the back of here. They have a little bit of adjustment so you can fine tune the fit on the vehicle. All the hardware will be provided for this bumper kit as well. Before welding everything out, you know, I've already welded this one. It's always a good idea to tack it up and then fit it on the vehicle and make sure everything fits the way it's supposed to fit. Just in case you have to make any adjustments, but it should be pretty straightforward and pretty simple. And there you have it. There's a nice, simple 4Runner bumper.